Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sportswave Radio Podcast. I am your host, R. Castro Jr., and boy, I hope your Final Four brackets haven't been too busted, because I know for a fact mine is completely gone. I could really attest to that. Man, it's not even funny how busted my bracket is. I fell for the hype of Missouri, and I had them in my Final Four, and now they didn't even make it out the first round. I'm sorry, the second round now. Oh, I can't believe the NCAA even calls it that, the second round. It's the first round, okay? The play-in games are just that. They're play-in games that aren't, for all intents and purposes, truly officially a part of the tournament. But, again, the NCAA wants to, I don't know, make them sound cool or something, and they call that the first round. And then the round of 64 is the second round now, which is why people just call it the round of 64 instead, because calling something first round, second round, that really isn't first or second round. It's just too ridiculous. But, yeah, again, I feel for the hype of Missouri, and my bracket's busted on that side. And then I, trying to pick up the team that's going to be the upset one, I chose Vanderbilt to go to the Final Four. So I already have two of my teams out. And, man, do I feel like an idiot. Honestly, man, I do. I have two teams left. That's Kentucky and North Carolina. So I really thought this was going to be the year of chalk. I really thought it was going to go more or less, high seeds win with, of course, your usual 1 to 3 upsets. And after that, though, I figured it should be just for this year in a way chalk. It'd be just the higher seeds win. Excuse me. Yes, the higher seeds win, and the lower seeds go home. Obviously, that didn't happen, and I don't know. Not to make much of an excuse here, but I'm starting to think that maybe I didn't pay enough attention to NCAA basketball the way I normally have. I mean, now granted, I haven't always sat down and watched games left and right, and because the reason for that is because the NBA is going on at the same time, and the NBA, for all intents and purposes, for most sports, it's probably my first love no matter what. And for this season, I have been watching a lot of it. And I've been watching so much of it that I really tuned into barely any NCAA basketball games. And to be honest, I think I watched more women's games this year, believe it or not, than I have men's games. Well, up until the Final Four started, I had probably actually seen more women's NCAA games this season than I had men's. And of course, being in Texas, and so you get to see a lot of Baylor games, and yeah, they always, they had the matches. Of course, Baylor, I believe they played Tennessee, and I believe they might have played UConn. I may be confusing myself for another season, but with another season. But in any case, the Baylor games are shown on TV. I watched those, and again, I'm very surprised that this year I actually watched more NCAA women's than men's. And again, as I was explaining to my friend, why this was probably gonna be my worst Final Four bracket ever, because of the fact of how little NCAA basketball I had watched this year. I mean, because I was telling him, and I know not everyone has these channels, but for those who do, all right, we can start off on Sunday. ABC has at least one game, noon or afternoon, and sometimes they have both. Then for the night, they give you 2 more on ESPN. All right, so everybody gets to watch those. Then comes Monday, and for those who have it, they have games on NBA TV. And if you don't have NBA TV, either your local Fox Sports or even a local station is most likely showing your hometown team. So that's Monday. Tuesday, again, if it's either your Fox Sports that's showing a game in your area, local channel, or if your team isn't playing, you can watch the fan night game on NBA TV. And this year, I'll tell you what, man, almost every fan night game that I've seen, the ones that the fans vote on that wins to get broadcast, I have to admit, I can't say I've seen one that's been too bad. They've all been pretty close games. And I know from time to time, they'll even give you a double header on a Tuesday. So they have the fan night game, which may be the first one that night. And then they'll throw in an 8:30, 9 o'clock game. Yeah, just, I guess just for the sake of throwing this a game. Or likewise, it can be the opposite. The fan night game starts late, we'll say at 9:30. And I'm going with Central Time because that's where I live, in the Central Time Zone. And so they'll throw us a 6 o'clock game for it. So again, that's Tuesday. Wednesday, it's ESPN doubleheader night. Thursday, TNT doubleheader night. Friday, again, ESPN once again has the coverage. Saturday, even if you're not going out, or if you're looking for something to watch, tune into NBA TV, because sometimes they have double headers, and so for the whole week there's NBA basketball going on, and it's it's displayed everywhere. And again, this is all assuming that you're not watching your local Fox Sports or your local channels, because your team may or may not be playing that night. So if you want to watch other basketball, you can. And me, I'm always up for watching basketball, so that's what I do. Maybe other people just stick to just watching their team, that's all. But for someone who wants to watch everything they can, you do have a whole week of just game watching, and I think that big time has hurt me in terms of my college basketball knowledge for the season. And not only that, but I mean, who saw Duke losing to Lehigh? I mean, I hope I'm pronouncing that. I think maybe Lehigh, not Lehigh. But nonetheless, who actually saw them losing to Lehigh? Then we have Norfolk State beating Missouri. Who saw that? And so those right there, those two busted people's brackets left and right. And Syracuse, to my amazement, once I saw that Fat Melo went down, I'm sorry, I didn't trust them. I trusted them to beat UNC Asheville. They did. And me, I had Kansas State winning against Southern Miss, so at least that was correct. But I actually had Kansas State beating them. But hey, that didn't happen. Syracuse moved on, and that's great for them because, I mean, you know, without Fat Melo, and, you know, the people were saying that they're the deepest team, so I guess it may be starting to come true. But, you know, to set for those of you, you know, who may not be caught into college basketball the way, again, I really wasn't this year. Fat Melo is perhaps the best player on the team, or maybe is the best player on the team. And 7-footer is not blocking shots. He's at least changing them, rebounding, good scorer. And so when he got lost because of academic ineligibility. So I really thought that was going to hurt the team more than it has. And I'm glad they've been able to rally. And so now they put themselves here in a good position. They're now in the Sweet 16. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start those matchups, but I'll start them right after this quick break. So I'll see everybody on the way back. Do you find web design difficult? Do you need a good web host? Have you tried Squarespace.com? Squarespace.com not only hosts websites, but it also helps you in designing them. They have a variety of templates, and each one is simple to use. They can all be customized to your specific needs as well, be it personal or business. So go to bit.ly/SPWave for a 14-day free trial. And the best part is, no credit card is needed. So go ahead and join Squarespace.com today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sportswave Radio Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Art Castro Jr. And now it's time to set up the matches for this coming week. And these games will be played on Thursday and Friday. And of course, this is now the Sweet 16. And the first matchup, we can start off in the South. I'll just make my way around the way the bracket is. If you're currently sitting down with your bracket in front of you, you'll be able to follow it, obviously. So I'll be going, with the South bracket here. It's Kentucky versus Indiana. And Kentucky, well, they've probably been the most talented team for the last 2-3 seasons, and maybe underachieved. But when you lose John Wall after 1 year, that has something to do with it. And imagine right now, I believe John Wall would be a senior right now. So who knows if he had stuck around for at least 1 extra year, maybe perhaps he could have led him to at least a Final Four appearance, if not a full-on title. And Kentucky, this game will be played in Atlanta. They'll be going up against Indiana. And Indiana, not too bad. They beat Mexico State in 966. Then they beat VCU in a closer game, 63-61. So some people might say they're fortunate to be here, and that might lead them to believe that Kentucky will probably have a bit of a, well, I don't want to say really easy time, but I don't know. I should see Kentucky come out of this. I know that's probably a little self-centered there. I should see Kentucky. No, but I do think Kentucky will come out of this. I see there's no reason for them not to. So Kentucky, I believe, will win this matchup. And then the next game in the South bracket is Baylor against Xavier. Xavier beat Notre Dame in the first round. They then, of course, beat Lehigh. And so now they go up against the Baylor Bears. And I don't know. I think Baylor, again, should take this matchup. Again, I thought this would be a year of chalk. And I think maybe right now it might start to sort of go in that direction now. I really think it might. So we'll see. I'll probably be wrong again. It's funny how, I mean, I'm not calling myself necessarily an expert in college basketball. I mean, I would, maybe I'm being a little cocky, but I would call myself an expert maybe in pro ball, and I would call myself one in NFL, and even to an extent soccer, more on the international stage than MLS, to be honest. But nonetheless, I would call myself an expert in those for sure. And this, I'm kind of a little bit more of a casual fan category. So again, me picking chalk could just be that, because I'm just assuming that maybe that's the way it would go. But again, so I'm assuming that Baylor will be Xavier. So it'd be in the South region, I see Kentucky beating Indiana and Baylor beating Xavier. So that would mean that Kentucky and Baylor, of course, meet up in the Elite Eight. So we'll see if that comes true. Moving on to the West bracket, and I'm surprised. Listen to the teams that are matched up in the West bracket and tell me how this even makes sense. We have Michigan State against Louisville, and then we have Marquette against Florida. I mean, I don't know why they even call these things anymore by direction, the South region, the West region, the Midwest, the East. I mean, teams are all over the place. I don't know why they even bother. I understand that maybe you can't just fill in all the East teams on the East. Well, you could at least put them in the Midwest bracket. I mean, because we have Michigan State playing in Phoenix, Louisville playing in Phoenix, Marquette, Florida playing in Phoenix. I'm just saying, it just seems a little funny to me that we have all these teams It's called the West bracket, and I see teams for them. All of them are east of the Mississippi. I don't know. It's just something kind of just something funny I just noticed. But again, maybe it just doesn't. I'm just looking too much into it. I understand that also the NCAA is trying to make matchups so that the Final Four teams are the best that they can possibly beat. But by the same token, I don't know. I mean, but regional importance and all that is starting to go away in college basketball and not just college basketball, and college sports in general. So I guess I'm not surprised. I shouldn't be surprised if this is happening. But all right, let's get to the matchups. First matchup here is Michigan State against Louisville. And I don't know how much Louisville really has, because Louisville, they beat Davidson 69-62. And so they squeaked by that one. They then got past New Mexico 59-56. So Louisville's been surviving here. They've barely been surviving these games. So now they go up against a Michigan State squad that's pretty good. And obviously, they're ranked number 1. I mean, Louisville, they're not slouches. They're ranked 4th. I mean, I'm assuming the rankings and seeding still means something. So 1 and 4. But again, the way this tournament's gone, who knows exactly what will happen. But I think Michigan State should pull this one out. And so I see them moving on to the Elite Eight in that matchup. The next matchup after that is Marquette, Florida. Florida's been playing some pretty good ball here. I mean, Florida beat Virginia 71-45. And then they beat Norfolk State. And that happened to be, if I'm just look, this is correct on my bracket here, is 84-50. So they're playing some pretty good ball. I mean, Marquette beat BYU by 20, 88-68. Then they beat Murray State 62-53. So they're going in feeling pretty well about themselves. I don't know, just something about Florida, man, just makes me think they're going to win. I don't know why. Just that matchup. I don't know. I have the strangest feeling that they're going to win. I have no idea why. Something just tells me they're going to win. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I just get the strangest feeling that they're going to make it to the next round. I don't know. Again, we'll see if that comes true. So, again, I'm picking Florida over Marquette. And then I'm picking Michigan State, Louisville. So in the West Region final, it'll be Marquette. It'll be Florida, Michigan State, according to me. But we'll see if I'm correct. After this, we can move on to the Midwest. And we're going to have the first matchup, UNC and Ohio. And Ohio is one of those teams that's been busting brackets left and right. And so they, of course, beat Michigan in the first round, 65-60. And then they beat South Florida, 62-56. And that's about the only upset I really got correct. I picked South Florida to beat Temple. And I assumed Michigan State was going to go to the next round. So that's why I didn't have South Florida go any further. But it didn't matter because Ohio beat Michigan anyway. So that busted the bracket anyhow. But again, first matchup for the Midwest bracket is UNC, Ohio. And I think maybe just on talent alone, UNC just maybe overwhelms Ohio. I mean, I know Ohio's walking in there with some pretty good swagger and confidence, and they're playing pretty good ball, obviously. They're hanging in tough. They're hunkering down on teams the best they can on defense. Because, again, they're 5-point wins against the Michigan team. They probably had a little bit more firepower than they did. South Florida, same thing, beat them 62-56. So Ohio, not too bad of a team, man. They're flying high, playing pretty good basketball, or playing good basketball, in fact. And then going up against UNC, it might be a close game. Maybe for sure. I can definitely see it being close for sure in the first half. I can even see Ohio maybe even having a lead going into halftime. After that, though, I think UNC just starts to wear them down just on their talent alone and athletic ability, etc. So I think UNC, they should move on to the next round. All right, after this, the other matchup in the Midwest is NC State and Kansas. And this is also one of the few upsets that I had correct. I had NC State beating San Diego State. I then had NC State playing Kansas the way they're playing. But on my bracket, I have Kansas winning. I don't know. I just don't know anymore. I mean, NC State squeaked by Georgetown. And they beat San Diego State somewhat handily, 79-65. I say somewhat because, I mean, it's 14 points. And I believe, if I remember the game correctly, I think they started pulling away at the end. It was a little close in the beginning, obviously. Georgetown, of course, just beat Belmont. And then, of course, they just lost to NC State, so, as I said, by 3. So, but I don't know. Some people are saying that Georgetown team might have been a little overrated. So, but I don't know. NC State beat them, and so now they're in the Sweet 16. And then, of course, they're going to play Kansas, who beat Purdue 63-60. And they had to come back in the final minutes of that game, I remember, to get that win. So we'll see. We have one team. Both of these teams played real close games. They both look good in their opening games for the most part. I think Kansas probably should have beat Detroit by a little bit more to be seeded number 2. But then again, we didn't expect Duke to be Lehigh. So, again, that's the way things go. But Kansas, NC State, man, I see this being close. but I think Kansas just squeaks it out. I think maybe just their defense just a little bit better, and Thomas Robinson on the inside, I think maybe just might get NC State in trouble, might get them a little bit of fits. Not that NC State's really small or anything, but I don't know. I just think Kansas State just has a little bit more firepower, and they move on to the Elite Eight. All right, we now move to the East bracket. Now we have the Cincinnati Bearcats and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State had a close game against Gonzaga. Of course, Gonzaga's always like that year in, year out for the most part. Game people fits, where they win or lose. It's always real hard against them. Cincinnati, of course, beat Texas in the first round. Oh, I'm sorry, the second round. And then they beat Florida State. And now they're matched up against the Buckeyes. And I don't know. Cincinnati, I was sort of looking at them, and I'm thinking to myself, I think they have the capability to actually beat Ohio State. I think they have what it takes to beat them. It's just a matter of whether they do beat them. And I just think Cincinnati falls a little bit short. And so I give it to Ohio State. So Ohio State moves on to the Elite Eight. Once, as I see it, they beat Cincinnati. Then after this, it's the last matchup, and that's Syracuse at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a bit of a little scrappy team. Beat Vanderbilt by 3. They handled Montana. And I don't know. I think maybe this is the round where missing Fab Melo might truly, truly hurt the Syracuse Orange now. And they might overcome it, obviously, because they have already in 2 rounds. Or this is the round, as I just finished saying, where it finally catches up to them. And I don't know why I'm thinking that Wisconsin just might have something for them. I mean, they play that real slow down, grind out basketball. And I think it just might be enough to beat the Syracuse Orange. I know Syracuse, people are saying they're the deepest team, and they can play maybe just on depth alone. They can't play with everyone, but I just think it's going to catch up to them, not having that defensive stopper in the middle. I think it finally catches up to them, and so I see Wisconsin moving on. So, again, your Elite Eight, the way I have it, it would be Wisconsin taking on Ohio State in the Eastern Finals. For the Midwest, I have UNC, and I have Kansas. In the West, I have Michigan State and Florida, so we'll see if that really turns out that way. In the South region final, I have Kentucky and Baylor. So, again, we'll see how it goes, because Xavier hasn't been playing too bad. I mean, once they got past Notre Dame, then they got Lehigh, and they matched up just so well with them that it's almost kind of hard to think. You know, it's kind of interesting to gauge them, because they went from a close game against a pretty good Notre Dame team to Lehigh, who probably just matched up or just threw everything that they had at Duke and then had nothing else left, perhaps. And so a little hard to judge exactly, but I think Baylor squeaks it out. So to me, again, once again, South, Kentucky, Baylor. West, Michigan State, Florida. Midwest, Kansas, UNC. And then the East, Ohio State, Syracuse. And so we'll see from there what happens. Obviously, just because after that, they play, I believe, right away from the regional semis. They play the regional finals. And then, of course, they wait the following week to play the Final Four. So I should be able to do one show on that. So there you go, folks. That's my little Final Four podcast. Real short, simple, fast. Again, I wish I was more astute in college basketball, but I'm so busy watching NBA, and I always really have it throughout my life, just sort of pay a little bit more attention to the NBA, just because it's the basketball I saw first. And so, and I don't know, maybe just that there's less teams there's just less teams to keep up with. No, it's not that. It's just, I don't know, for whatever reason, just the real, I don't know, for whatever reason, college basketball just didn't appeal. It doesn't, I guess I could actually say doesn't appeal to me the way NBA basketball does. I know it's basketball, and for whatever reason, though, I just always catch myself watching more NBA than I do NCAA year in, year out. And it's probably going to be like that for the rest of my life, but I know, believe it or not, of all the people make New Year's resolutions, believe it or not, just to show you how much I'm lacking in college basketball, I actually have made New Year's resolutions year in, year out. I tell myself, I'm going to watch more college basketball that year. That's it. That's actually been a finals resolution for me. I have actually made watching college basketball final resolution, New Year's resolution. Have I been saying final resolution this whole time? I'm sorry if I have. I'm sorry. I guess the TNA pay-per-view has been stuck in my mind for whatever reason. Final resolution. I'm sorry. New Year's resolution. For New Year's resolution, I've actually made watching college basketball New Year's resolutions about 4 times in my life. I've made that a New Year's resolution, and I've really tried to those years, and it just ends up being the same thing. I just end up watching more NBA basketball than I do college. And again, though, this year with a compressed schedule, I really, really didn't pay attention to it the way I at least normally would in the past. So I at least have a little bit better gauge of what might or might not happen. So again, no excuse. This is supposed to be my job. I'm supposed to be covering this stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed my little quick Final Four show here. And I guess all I need to do now is just say that if you guys want, you can go to our Facebook. You can like our page there. It's just the way like the website sportswave.tv. And then we have the website as well, sportswave.tv. We can see the podcast there. Or we also throw them up on YouTube just for the hell of it, just to see if I get any more views and listeners there. So and if you can't find it on YouTube, because sometimes YouTube is a bit douchebag-ish, and they had that dumb little, because obviously the songs I put in, sometimes they have that little thing, oh, it's blocked in some countries. Yeah, and it's blocked in probably the most important one, the one I live in. So if you guys, tired of YouTube sometimes, or you can't find it on YouTube, try Vimeo, because I put the podcast up not just on YouTube, but also on Vimeo, because I know sometimes Vimeo doesn't really seem to give me any problem. Vimeo's almost just have the mindset of, throw that shit up there, we don't care. And I can't believe I just said that too. I'm supposed to be doing, these are supposed to be resumes, I'm supposed to be professional here. In case you ever wonder why I never ever cuss on these, it's because I'm treating these as if they were mini resumes, so that maybe someone out there is actually listening to this, and they actually want some talent. Hey, I'm here. I don't mind. I cannot, I do not cuss. I will not cuss. I know the rules of on-air radio. I know not to cuss, etc. I know I let that one slip right there, but for the most part, yes, I know. So once again, if you guys want, go to our website. We have our website, sportswave.tv. Then we have the Facebook, sportswave.tv. And again, you can find our podcast either on Vimeo or YouTube. So if you try to look for it on YouTube and you find it, it's blocked, or you can't find it, then go ahead and just skip on over to Vimeo and you'll get it there for sure. And that's pretty much it, folks. You can also probably within a couple weeks or so, I'm going to probably go ahead and get on iTunes as well. I'm going to restart that, because I know for a while I was on iTunes, but now I'm not anymore. So I'm probably going to start uploading the podcast to iTunes as well. So maybe you can have another avenue for those who may be watching, hearing it that way later in the future. So I'll go ahead and just throw that out there already now, though, just to get the mindset of that. But again, folks, I would normally do it here in the show. You guys hear the intro to the song, and I do try my best to pick songs that sound like intro, not just throw any songs out there. And today we have Meshuggah, because you never heard of them, because they're from Sweden, even though they've been around since, I believe, at the least, the early 90s. So again, Meshuggah, they're from Sweden. And the song you heard was Future Breed Machine. And so now, let me go ahead and get that to you. So without further ado, here it is. It's Meshuggah with Future Breed Machine.